Now, when we were looking at factoring out the greatest common factor, we saw that sometimes the greatest common factor might be something other than a monomial, and we particularly looked at the case where it could be a binomial. We're going to use that in the next kind of factoring, which is called factoring by grouping. And this phrase describes a process where we find some common factors, but we're going to have to go in pieces through a problem. And we'll just refer to that as the factor by grouping method. Now, we're trying to, basically, in this, trying to find a common factor. When one is not obvious. It's the second kind of factoring we'll try to use. And here's our situation. I don't see a greatest common factor or any common factor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try going just a couple of terms at a time. Now, a lot of times these will come to you as a polynomial where you have 4 terms. So, for example, you have something like ab squared minus 4b squared plus 3a minus 12. There's nothing that's in common to all 4. But if I just went 2 at a time, I would begin to see a few things. If I went with the ab squared minus 4b squared, I can see in there b squared. If I factored that out, I would be left with a minus 4. So let me try that and see where it takes me. Then look at the second 2. I see in common there a 3. I need to remember that I'm adding these things up. If I pull out a 3, I'm left with an a minus 4. Well, now I'm in a situation where I can see a common factor. That common factor is the binomial a minus 4. So let me pull that out. And put my leftovers in parentheses, b squared plus 3. Now I've got something factored. And it is coming out as a product of 2 binomials. That entire process is the factor by grouping method. So let's look at a couple of examples, just kind of walk through them, and then I'll write out a recipe as best I'm able to condense that one. Suppose you have x squared minus x plus 5x minus 5, and you are to factor this. Nothing jumps out as being a greatest common factor, so you go on to the factor by grouping method, and you just look 2 at a time. I could take an x out of that, and I would be left with x minus 1. And from these 2, I could take out a 5, and I would be left with an x minus 1. Oh, happy days! I have an x minus 1 in each parenthesis. I've got a binomial. Let me pull that out. I have x minus 1 times x plus 5. And I factored my problem. Let's try another one. Let's take x squared plus 2x minus a 3x minus 6. Again, let me just go 2 at a time and see what happens. X squared plus 2x. Well, I see an x, and I'm left with x plus 2. And I really recommend writing brackets. It helps you keep track of what you're doing. I see a couple of minus signs, and I want to keep in mind that I need to have the things that are in the parentheses be exactly alike in order to pull apart this problem, pull out the binomial. So let me think about pulling out a negative 3. I'll write that as a subtraction of a 3 times, well, if I divide this little piece by negative 3, I have a positive x. And this little piece by negative 3, I have a positive 2. When you're first doing these, you should take a moment and check by writing it out. And it's always a good idea just to check mentally, can I get back up here with these two? Negative 3 times x minus 3x, got it. Minus 3 times 2 is minus 6, got it. So that I know I got my signs right. Well, now I see x plus 2 in common, so I can pull that out, and I'm left with x minus 3. And you may be starting to notice that what we're doing here kind of looks like the reverse of FOIL, undoing a FOIL. And we are heading that direction as we go through the material in this course.